My name is Eva. I'm from Germany, and since 2012, so now for almost 3.5 years, I live in Nepal with my little daughter. And first, when I tell my friends, or when I told my family, or when I tell strangers that we live in a country like Nepal, in a village, in the rural area, people are interested, but sometimes a little bit shocked, and they always tell me how brave I am to live there and things like that. But over the time, I've come to feel very different about this, because I think, first of all, this living in a very different setting for my daughter is very beneficial, and also it's not very difficult. It's not, for me, I've come to the conclusion that the big challenge for me, since I've had my daughter, was not living in Nepal, but living in Germany. That was more difficult. To live there as a single mother with a child and try to work at the same time. So to start at the beginning, so I have a master's degree in geography, and I really wanted to work in my field. But once my daughter was born, that was very difficult, because in Germany we have restrictions that you have to put your family status on your resume. So you have to say you're married, you're not married, you have a child, and when the child is born. And of course, I know that the job market is very difficult, and was very difficult 5 years ago as well, especially in my field. But still, I have a very good diploma, I have good grades, I've worked abroad, I've done 2 semesters abroad, and with 50 applications, I didn't get a single invitation to an interview. And I know many other people who who did their degrees with me, with worse grades, and who studied longer than me. They did get all these interviews. So at some point I started thinking, maybe it is about the child. Maybe it is because I have to put there, okay, I have a 1-year-old, 2-year-old child. And then what kind of opened my eyes was one instance where I was invited to an interview, and that was the first time that I got the invitation, and it was the only application where I didn't have to put my family status. And there it was a study program, a post-grad program, and I got chosen from more than 350 applications. I got into the group of the last 60. So I thought, okay, it can't really be about my qualifications. It must be something else. And in that interview process, we were 60 people, and they had 20 spots. So of course I met the other applicants, and it was very interesting because I met this one guy, and he was in exactly my situation. It was weird how similar our CVs were and how similar our situation was, because he had done work in Ecuador, he had studied geography, I think he even finished with the same grade, and he finished the same year. So we were almost the same, and we both had a child, and his child was a little bit younger than Miriam, but we were almost in the same situation. And it was so interesting to see the questions they asked him and the questions they asked me, because he didn't get any question about his child. He didn't have to explain himself how he thinks it's possible to do a full-time study and work with a child, and where his child would be. But they expected him to go to a country like Sudan or Afghanistan for development work. And in my interview, they said, of course, they would never send me to Afghanistan. They would always consider Miriam, but I had to explain, where would she be? Does she have childcare and everything? So I was shocked, to be honest, because that was a major German university, and I never thought I would encounter that there. And I think it's very bad in both directions, because he wanted to be the stay-at-home dad, and he was not allowed to. He would have been sent to Afghanistan without a blink of an eye. And they would have taken that into consideration for me, but I had to have a strategy set up. And they just assumed, even in the year 2000, it was 14, but they assumed that his girlfriend would stay at home. And it was the opposite, because she was making the money, and he was just looking for something on the side. But it's just these things that people assume when they look at situations and at people. And I never thought that this would still be so dominant now, but it is. So when I got after this experience, I realized, okay, it must have to do something with my child, that I can't find a job. So I did an internship at a major consulting company, and I really liked it as well. But there they asked for so many hours. They wanted me to work 60 hours a week and ask me questions like, how probable is it that your child will get sick at some point? And just I was just sitting there, and I wasn't even sure if they were making a joke, because of course it's 100% certainty that at some point my child will get sick, because that's how life is. So when this offer to go to Nepal came up, I took it without a second thought, because I've lived in Ecuador for some time, so I kind of felt like I knew what was coming, and it was very interesting, the topic. I'm doing my PhD now. I'm still in the process, and it was very interesting for me, and it was also from the professional kind of point of view made sense, because I've worked a lot in the Andes, so the Himalayas was the next step. So it made sense, but also this chance to get out of Germany and to get out of all these circumstances that made it so difficult for me was very promising. And it's actually, that's what it was. It's so much easier, because they are child friendly, and if Miriam's sick, I can bring her to work, and they are open, and no one tells me that I shouldn't bring my child, or that if I miss a meeting because I have to pick up Miriam, no one will ever say anything, because she's my child, and so that's the priority. So it actually made it easier, because of course also childcare is cheaper. I can actually pay for a babysitter and don't ruin myself trying to organize someone to take care of her. So I feel like it was almost easier once I came to Nepal, because the circumstances are much more favoring for a single mother trying to work than in Germany, even though there's so many institutional support, but it's also very static, and life is not static, so it didn't really fit in with me and in my situation. So I think things got easier for us once we came to Nepal.